And welcome back to the Wallace branch. And today we're starting the first official operating session. For those of you who are subscribed to my Twitch, you know this isn't actually the first time operating on the route because it did require a lot of testing to get to this point. I'm not saying it's perfect now, but it's going to be a lot smoother to start with. The route is just in better shape from the perspective of industries working and track layout and all that stuff. I'll be explaining the methodology a little bit more as we go along, but first let's stick with, I believe this is Roger Moore here, who is assigned to our Northern Pacific local coming up from Missoula. Roger left the Northern Pacific main line at St. Regis, Montana, and as many of you know, now he's on the Wallace branch of the Northern Pacific, but actually he's operating on the Milwaukee tracks. It's the Pacific Extension main line since the NP tracks washed out back in the 1930s. Roger Moore here, he's actually taking a little bit of a break here to go into this industry. It's the St. Regis lumber mill. He's going to pick up a small amount of lumber here, and then he's going to move on to Hogan. I have Roger set up with all these flat cars that are needed for lumber pickup. But Roger isn't going to be handling all of that because we do have a bit of a special situation today. Namely, the Wallace branch is provided with two Z3 helper locomotives, steam locomotives, but I was notified this morning that one of our Z3s is in need of urgent maintenance, as determined by a spreadsheet, and that Z3 is going to have to be taken out of service for a few days before handling any other tasks. Happens to be that that's the Z3 that's located in Saltese, which would be the Z3 that would help out in the westbound direction over Lookout Pass. So therefore, Roger Moore probably will not be able to head over the pass with the helper. I basically don't plan to service that Z3 in Missoula. I plan to service it instead in Wallace. So I'm not assuming that it's incapable of going over the pass, but it's not capable of handling a full load. It's not how I do it every time, but that's how I'm going to do it this time. So here we are arriving at our lumber track, and all of these bulkhead flats have to be filled up with lumber. This is a service road, so I don't do the horn here. Let's see how many I can fit on this track. I think I can usually do 4. And I think I mentioned it already, but I'm not planning to fill up the whole train, just planning to do a few cars. Let's stop it right at the end of the first building. Nice, blocking that service road. Okay. I should check over here. Yeah, it looks like it's starting to load. I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been over a month, I believe, since I played the route for the last time. So I'm not sure if I would remember all of the timings of the industry loading. Just going to have to wait and check that out, but I've got plenty to do. I'm going to do a save. I'm not going to be saving every 5 minutes or anything like that, but I think it's wise at the outset to save it. Again, it's been a while since I played, so let me see if I can remember which one of these locomotives is actually... Oh yeah, it's the SD38s are over on the other side of the map. This is Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson, GP38-2s, and Woody Harrelson is coming in from Plummer, Idaho. And Woody Harrelson has a string of gondolas, boxcars, and a couple of Milwaukee covered hoppers, and 3 cabooses, because this route is a little bit short of cabooses for some reason right at the moment. I think several cabooses got sent off the map in a hurry at one point, and perhaps they didn't bring enough back on. I'm not sure. Let's keep it very prepare for our speed limit change up here. Ah, yes, the covered hoppers are for loading in Cataldo. This is a very short run in here, to make a very short run into Cataldo. Yeah, they're going to pick up the hops. It's an easy first task to get out of the way, but the hops has to go all the way across the map to our friendly brewery in Hogan, Montana. Yeah, maybe I should. Oh, it looks like the car tagger once again is having the issue where it blanks out. I don't know what to do about that. I can restart it, but I just restarted all the session rules before I launched this session today. So I don't know if anybody who is watching this in the future. I would hope that you would reach out to me and let me know what is the problem with car tagger where it keeps emptying out all of the values. Like I said, I restarted all of the session rules and then re-entered all the car tagger information immediately prior to playing today. All right, let's see what happens here. Kind of didn't stop that at a very good place. Maybe just back it up. Make it right. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. Anyway, let's go over to our second Northern Pacific GB9 consist. And this consist, I believe, basically what we would like to do here, I think, is just take our power off this train and bring it back into town. But it may be actually wiser to take the whole train back into Wallace. So I think that's what I'm going to do. This is the cement for the construction of the freeway. Cement always gets dropped off in Osborne, Idaho. Osborne, Idaho. Elevation 2,500, population 1664. This way we're going to get another caboose back into Wallace. That'll probably be very useful. Yeah, it's not very pretty to be looking into the glare like that. Oh, this time the MI2 is loading 4 of the bulkheads. Maybe it was loading 4 before and I just didn't notice that. Obviously did not touch it, so. It's actually loading 5 of them. Pretty interesting. All these covered hoppers are in need of loading sand, I believe will be the first task for them, but they need to be sent over there by the Union Pacific. Northern Pacific sometimes brings cement trains. They have track rights to come over here to Osborne to drop off the cement trains. Other than that, the Northern Pacific can also service Silverton, but other than those, they don't really come over onto this side of the map. This side of Wallace, I should say. And I believe this train has so much power on it because it was a very heavy train going over the pass. Too heavy even for two GPs, two GP9s and a helper. So I think the RS3 came over with it as well, just adding a little bit extra power. Should be coming up to our grade crossing fairly soon. I think I see where we're making this one little turn here. A lot of the grade crossings I have the automatic horn set up, but you know, I can't remember which ones I did it for. There goes the crossing gate. Get out of the trees here for a little bit. All right, I think it's time to pause and have this train go into Wallace on the automatic pilot. Drive via Wallace, UP West lead, I think is going to be correct. Good. Okay, let's jump back over to our SD. Oh, I forgot that our SD38s no longer have a driver for some reason. So it's going to be risky. Before I jump over there, I'm going to save it again. Okay, Roger Moore. Well, one MI2 did better than expected, and then the other did less good than expected. So here's the switching plan. I'm going to take 3 of these already loaded bulkhead flats with me, and I'm also going to take 3 of these reefers and these ore hoppers in the back of the train. And the rest I'm going to leave here for the Milwaukee to switch out. See, the car tagger tags are still there now. Try to leave it at the exact same spot I did last time so we get as many cars filled as possible. How about there? Of course, this will be blocking the road, so maybe we'll pull ahead with a few of these. Sometimes I will pay attention to blocking and not blocking the service road, but in this case, we're really going to be departing this area completely with these units, so it seems highly appropriate to actually take care of it. Left the bulkhead flats over there, but I meant to take 3 with me. Okay, it sort of doesn't matter. Let's leave it for the next train, because there will be a next train on this day. It's the consequence of the C3 being out of action that means that we can't take all the lumber cars over. They all have to go over anyway, so it's going to be handled by the next train. All right, now it's 8:30. Shadows are getting a little bit less long. Let's put you on autopilot. Navigate to Hogan Brewery Goods. And I'm pretty sure that is a track that is currently blocked. So let's just go up here and see what the situation is. Indeed. Actually, there's so many reefers I could have just left it. I could have... Oh, okay, these guys are already decoupled. Who do we have here? We have Eric Rodman. So Eric Rodman is just going to come in here and move these reefers onto a different track. I'm pretty sure they're all empty. I better check that. Yes, they are all empty. Hogan, Montana, small town. It's the point where the Milwaukee Pacific Extension main line departs from the Northern Pacific Wallace branch, Coeur d'Alene branch officially. Nobody on the platform today in Hogan. It's pretty good since there are no passenger trains coming. I think there are over on the Milwaukee side. There are a few people standing out there. is a long-term plan of mine to eventually release the route, and one of the things that I will have to redo that's on my list to redo is the Toomey catenary lines here. It's a packaged asset. These switch stands, which are the Milwaukee switch stands, are also Milwaukee creations of Toomey. One of my best friends growing up, his father was a fan of the Milwaukee, and he had one of these switch stands in his front yard. And I believe he used part of his switch stand or some other type of signal as his mailbox. Oops. Make sure we get completely clear of this track. Do we have our train coming in? Yep, we do. So for our next set of helpers here, we need you to run down to the Borgia lumber mill. Why don't we just navigate to Borgia. I mean, I guess we could just take him to the log drop. How about that? Okay, let's save this. Oh, no, it has to save the session like that again. Okay, let's not do that. Looking good, looking good. Now this is the train which is coming in, Adair Jr. Adair is bringing in a bunch more reefers to be loaded up at Hogan, and then those reefers are going to be going on to Missoula. Got a Little Joe and 2 SD40-2s. Little Joe is running backwards for some reason. But fortunately, there is a Y track at Hogan that he can access. So as I mentioned earlier, this train of concrete hoppers needs to go in to pick up sand, but it's the Union Pacific that needs to pick up the sand. So I think the thing to do here is to take the train into this direction. No, that's blocked. Oh, it's blocked, but it's no problem because we can just have that. Yeah, we can just move that guy out of the way. Yes, we do have a lot of power now in Wallace on the northern Pacific side. And interestingly, we have plenty of cabooses here. Plenty of NP cabooses anyway. We just have a shortage of UP cabooses. Now, would it happen that two railroads that are somewhat in a cooperation mode, where they're sometimes sharing track rights and servicing some similar industries, and would it happen that a caboose got lent from one railroad to another in the same way that freight cars would be? I don't know. Kind of doubt it. Okay, that is looking very good. So we can get Frederick Remington decoupled here. Get these guys out of the way. Now, one thing that does have to get done is we have a Z3 locomotive here in Wallace, which is facing the wrong direction. Now, how did that happen? I just do not know. But in this playthrough, one thing that is going to happen a lot is that there are tasks that don't have a lot of importance or meaning, but have to get done. Just make sure. Okay, yeah. Looking good. Perhaps facing the wrong direction because he came in and got filled up with coal. Got filled up with coal and water. I haven't set up any of my locomotives to actually need diesel fuel, coal, and water. So it's something that I think others would include in their operating sessions, and that they would like that to also be incorporated into their assets. Locomotive assets should have those fuel consumption, but I have not been playing that way. Something to consider in the future for sure. I'm not against it. I just haven't been playing that way. It does add a little layer of complexity, which can be a good thing for sure. And since we're right here, I could just stop him and pretend like we're doing it. But I'm not doing it systematically, so I'm not going to. Let's just hold you right there. VGRO, welcome. I set up the electrolyzer with 2 loads, kerosene and water. Had to set the kerosene as a load coal so the loco would consume it. There is a JR loco script that you can just attach. I hate to recommend that because I don't know if the creators of that allow it, but that is one easy way to get your loco to actually consume coal or diesel. And I did see on the Discord somebody complaining that they had downloaded an asset, perhaps something that they purchased, I'm not sure, but they were upset that it didn't include this functionality. So I can understand why, if that's your playing style, if you paid for something and it didn't have that capability. Of course, I assume that any capability that an asset has or didn't have would be stated up front, probably. VGRO says, I want to keep it without any non-DLS dependencies. I can totally understand that. I believe that that script would not have any non-DLS dependencies. You'd literally be copying a text file into your assets file. But there again, I'm not sure that the creators intend that script to be used in non-JR assets, so perhaps it's not. Perhaps it's something that would be frowned upon in practice. I'm just not sure. Let's pull forward, get these lined up to pick up some beer at the Hogan Brewery. And this is an urgent task. So on the Wallace branch, some tasks are to be completed in a given week, but other tasks are to be completed in a given day. And when I say completed, I mean that the whole chain has to be completed. And in this case, the beer has to be picked up, and then it has to be delivered in order to be marked as completed. There are a couple of other urgent tasks. Let me just, make sure that that is visible while I look at my spreadsheet and see what the other urgent tasks are, because I forgot already. Yes, one is that fish needs to be picked up at the Hale Hatchery. Fruit has to be dropped off at the Mullen Freight Warehouse. And where's that fruit going to come from? Well, I think it's going to have to come from the Union Pacific side. As well, the Union Pacific is supposed to deliver 2 boxcars of general goods to Mullen. Actually, you know what? I want to come back because we need this one empty bulkhead flat. I think the most efficient way is to attach it from this side. And I think the idea here would be to get the bulkhead flat in, start loading, and then remove these log bulkhead flats and put them into the log loading track. So they're kind of out of the way, and in the future, when we need to pick up lumber, those log cars will be out of the way. I think the reason why I didn't put them in that track is that I didn't want them to unload. See the car tagger right there? I only labeled those cars. That is working. If I have to choose between things that would not work, I would prefer that the industry loading work and car tagger not work. At least that's my current feeling. Come back here. Of course, at this point, they're tagged for Borgia lumber, but they've already been loaded, so probably we'll be retagging them very shortly. Oops. How did that happen? Oh. Okay, non-prototype operation. Something that would never happen in real life. Okay, let's make sure I know exactly which direction we're going. Okay, so go forward. Okay, we are stopped. Now we're decoupled. Now we're going forward again. Good. So if I put the log cars far enough that way, then they would not have any problems. Right. Can pick up these. Oh, it looks like we have some empty ones. I didn't know we had 3 empty ones. I thought we just had 1 empty. Well, that's silly. Doesn't matter. Just means that more empty log flats came onto the route than ought to have been the case. Suboptimal number. Speeding slightly. Come in and ride our last log car here in the string. Yeah, so it sort of looks like there are actually 5 empties. That's kind of funny. So yeah, just going to shove these cars into the log track. right, the next stop for this NP local is Saltese, where we're going to pick up the helper track. We're going to go to track 2 because then we'll pick up our helper for ongoing operations. Okay, so let's, with that in mind, should not forget though about the issue of the caboose. Cabooses need to be brought into Wallace with some urgency at least. Drive via Pinehurst Lead. I'm not sure, but let's go. These cars need to be filled up with paper, these box cars. But as to whether this train should just drop them off, I think, and then continue on so that we can get the hoppers, the cabooses delivered, as we discussed. Okay, so Alan Alda. Yes, Alan Alda is here. Now, there is this one caboose over here. So I think we're going to back this train up within this little mini yard associated with Kellogg. Sorry for the jerking around there. Okay. Going to back you up, and what we really need is to pick up a large amount of hoppers. So there's one switch thrown against you. Okay, that one? No. This one? No. I think it must be way down at the end. Here? Here? Yeah. Yeah, so we have all these open hoppers that need to get picked up. And the reason they are not just going to sit here and wait for another day is that essentially this playthrough is going to need more hopper fills than any other playthrough I have done so far, and probably more than is really suitable given the design of the route. So yeah, we're going to need to fill up all those hoppers at the different mines on the route. And in a way, that is good, because we want the mines to be serviced regularly, and in a few of the other playthroughs so far, we haven't seen that much action from some of the mines. But this time we will. And what's particularly unbalanced, actually, is that most of the hopper fills on the spreadsheet are actually lead, not silver. Whereas in reality, it would be more like a ratio, like, well, in reality, of course, you would fill up the hopper with ore, and then the smelter would process that into a certain amount of silver and a certain amount of zinc and a certain amount of lead. But that's not the way trains really works. I mean, I guess it could work that way in that I pick up ore, but the way trains works usually is that you pick up lead ore, you pick up silver ore, and so forth. So I was just thinking I need to drop the caboose first, right? So why don't I do that on this track? Passing the large tailing piles. Okay, leave those there. Not doing the horn each time for these little switching moves. I think that it's apparent that we're already in motion. See, detector milepost 960. That is the detector right by Saltese, so that should indicate that our Northern Pacific local has just arrived at Saltese. All right, let's see how many tons we've got here. 450, that's not too bad. I mean, they're all empty, I knew that, but kind of surprised. Thought it would be more. I believe this is all there are in this area. Just check. Yeah, there's nothing. Well, there is this string of bulkhead flats there. That's not relevant. Not relevant to what we need to talk about. Oh, there's an extra caboose. Hey, hey. That's relevant to talk about. Yeah, in general, I think there should always be at least 2 cabooses just hanging out in the Wallace yard. So bringing on these 3 cabooses this turn will help. And it will be good to bring these 3 empty reefers to Wallace, because then the Northern Pacific can take those 3 over to the Hale hatchery and pick up some fish. Yeah, these are some very long yard tracks out here. At least long by the standards of this route. But as far as I know, this is actually prototypical. They must have had some very long strings of ore cars down here. And I based the operations of the smelter partly based on how long these tracks are. Okay. So almost 800. And we've got 56 cars. Excellent. Now it is an uphill grade to Wallace, but it's, I think, maximum 1%, so it's nothing that these units cannot handle. Alan Alda. Yeah, I think I looked at the spreadsheet, and there's something like 80 total hopper loads that have to get delivered on this. So this is 56. We've got 5 coming onto the map right now from the Northern Pacific side. So we should have, and then there are a few in Wallace. So I think we should have over 60 on the map right now. Well, there's the music, so as you probably guessed, that's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you again next time on the Wallace Branch.